Hi and welcome to Certified Beverage Professional. We appreciate your interest in the subject and the certification from the Global Food Service Institute at the State University of New York at Morrisville, SUNY Morrisville. Training will be presented by myself, Ed Manley, with E.H. Manley and Associates, in cooperation with Pearson Learning Solutions, which is the world's largest developer of workforce development products. And we put the program together based on some people in the military who work for the admirals and generals who work in their homes and need their basic needs are wine and food pairings more than anything. So that's the thrust of the program, and the test is about half questions on wine and food pairings, and the training also is heavily geared towards that, and the expectation from this you taking this program is that you'll beef up your resume with something that looks good, and that you'll be one of the spiffier people at your workplace on the subject of wines and spirits, and so you'll do better for yourself, and you'll do better for your employer, and that's it. So we hope you learn a lot. We hope you enjoy it, and your feedback will be appreciated. And this lovely pin will be available at some point. Some of the pins for the certifications we did get, the ones that we expected to be the most popular, and some of them we're waiting for enough people, 50, 60 people, to take it, and then we'll order, because you can't order 10, you got to order them by like the 100 to get a reasonable price. So we'll have them, and we'll sell them for probably $6 or so, which will cover our cost and cost of mailing, or at least most of the cost. So you can get that. We'll let you know when those are available. So like I said, I'm going to cover all 80 questions, but there's also a lot of other information. How are you going to know which ones are the test questions? Well, some of it you're just going to have to study it all and hope you get it all, but in some cases I'm going to say test question if I think it's kind of obscure and you might not think that you'd be tested on that. I might give you a little hint here and there and say test question. Test questions change though. We have Certified Beverage Professional test. It's 80 questions, 40 of which are on wine and food pairings, which is mostly what you'll need to. In the beginning, there was beer. We're going to start with beer and spirits first, so we get them out of the way. More importantly, get the math out of the way while you're fresh. Most of the course is going to deal with wine, so we're going to do this part first and get it in some semblance of order. Another beer first reason is that pretty much all historians believe beer was brewed before wine was fermented. The most popular alcoholic beverage served with dinner is, guess what? Beer. Now this is your first application of my very first lesson, which was what? If it's red and bold and you see the girl writing down at the bottom, you do what? You write. Why? Because it just might be a test question. Now there's 100 test questions, out of which 80 get picked by the computer, so you might not see some of these, but they're in the 100. So you see the girl down the bottom writing, that means you should be writing, so you won't remember all this stuff. There's a lot of material, so make sure for the stuff that looks like it's testable, make sure you wrote that down. Ales and lagers, what's the difference? Ale is a top fermenting yeast, which is brewed at 55 to 75 degrees. All brewed beverages use grains or honey as the sugar in their fermentation process, which produces alcohol content that varies from almost nothing to 15% alcohol. Light beer, not surprisingly, has a lighter taste and is lower in calories than regular beer, but not that much lower. 12-ounce beer usually contains between 135 to 170 calories, and light beer has less than 100, so it's not like you can drink a dozen light beers and you don't gain any calories. That would not be true. Light beer can be made by adding enzymes that lower the calories and alcohol content of the beer, or by diluting regular beer that was fermented dry.
Ancient people brewed this flavorful beverage with malted barley and hops. Today we use much the same ingredients to make beer, but with a production technology that's miles ahead. Beer has been drunk since 4000 BC in Mesopotamia. The Sicaru made it as a sacred beverage from grains but without hops. The Gauls and the Celts drank a beverage made with barley, wheat, and rye. During the Crusades, Europeans discovered spices and flavored the beverage with cinnamon and laurel. In the 15th century, Nordic peoples used hops as a spice, giving rise to the beer that we know today. Beer is a fermented beverage made with cereals and water. The barley used in making beer comes from the western provinces, with the malting being done elsewhere. The company has its own water filtration plant. It will be refiltered before being used to eliminate chlorine. This materials tank can hold 80,000 liters of water. Between 10 and 15 tons of malt and another grain are added. They use dark malt, which has been heat treated to a high temperature. The preparation will spend 2 hours here. An agitator prevents malt husks from settling to the bottom of the tank. Turbulence from the pumps during the transfer causes the formation of this protein foam. The wort is in the process of being extracted and will be boiled. About 5 hours have passed since the brewing process began. Here they draw off a sample since they'll make other control tests at various stages of brewing. This is the draff, a solid residue extracted from the wort. It will later be used as cattle feed. Here is a close-up view of the draff. Then the liquid is filtered. Here's the filtration tank where the wort is separated from the malt husks. A sample is withdrawn from the wort heater to verify the density of sugars and the quality of the wort. Now another ingredient, the hops, is added into the wort heater. The hops impart the bitterness and aroma particular to beer. The hops looks like this. Now they can start the brewing. In the control room, an operator handles the data control system of the brewing process. They add in the yeast, which starts off the fermentation, a process that lasts between 7 and 10 days. This foam indicates that fermentation has begun, and sugars will now transform into alcohol. Each fermentation tank is computer controlled to maintain a specific temperature. During fermentation, chemical reactions create the scum that we see. Now aged for 3 weeks, the beer is almost finished. We see here the bottling tanks. The beer has to be filtered once more. Exiting these filters, the wort is clarified, then rid of the components responsible for the cloudiness of the beer. Here's the beer filtered a second time, and finally finished as a clear product. Used bottles are now washed. After their wash cycle, the bottles have become sterilized. Empty bottles arrive on this plate, ready to be filled. About 1,000 bottles a minute are filled while on the move. Then they pass to the capper before being sent to the pasteurizer for pasteurization. Only 2 steps remain. Labels are glued onto the bottles, then they're sent by the conveyor to be put into cases. Made from water and cereal grains, the beer is now ready to be consumed and enjoyed. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I hope what you saw today speaks for itself. Our goal is to give you a view of the many manufacturing methods that produce the items we see in our daily lives. I'm Mark Tewksbury. See you next time on How It's Made.